Okay, so we've talked about the challenges of international hiring. So now I'm curious to dive deeper into your employer of record solutions. I read it. I found it to be quite interesting, but I think you could also share some details on how this service basic or solutions basically simplifies the process of hiring and managing employees across different countries.
Yeah, absolutely. So, remote employer of record, which is also commonly known as the EOR
Mhm.
solution, is an absolute game changer for companies that are looking to hire globally, right? And let me explain how it works. So, on the compliance front, remote becomes the official employer, meaning that we take on the responsibility of navigating and adhering to all the local employment laws and regulations. So, this helps companies steer clear of all the legal headaches and always stay on the right side of the law, right? Now,
So sorry, can I just interject a bit? That means you become an employee of remote in this instance.
on paper, so the essential idea is that there's going to be a three-way agreement between
Mhm.
the business remote and the business's employee. So on paper, the employee will be remote's employee because the
Mhm.
company is leveraging remote's local entity in that country
Mhm.
to actually
Okay.
hire this team member. So from a compliance and payroll standpoint, everything is taken care of by remote. But when it
Mhm.
comes to working relationship, the business still continues to have a direct working relationship with the
Mhm.
employee. So that's how that expansion becomes more scalable, right? You absolutely do not need to worry about where that talent sits, and absolutely do not need to worry about, oh, I do not have an entity in this country. How do I make all this happen? So that's where remote really comes into the picture and takes all that work off business plates. So they focus on what they do best, which is the talent acquisition. So finding the right people for their team.
Would you say that the EOR solution would be something uh, that would be helpful for, like, for example, I mean, yeah, we have large companies, with small companies, with companies who have just started, right? Would you say that the EOR solution would be beneficial for companies, very new companies, for example, very new small companies, because they may not necessarily have you know the resources to actually expand very quickly, right? So and then taking up the EOR solutions, and then eventually, obviously, they start growing from there. Would it be more suitable for companies like that, or do you think it's applicable across the board, all sizes?
Um, so the short answer to that is yes, the remote solution is applicable to businesses of all sizes.
Mhm.
But you mentioned a very interesting point there, right? If it's a small company, if it's just a startup, but does have those global ambitions, right?
Mhm.
And that's, I think, a particularly noteworthy aspect about remote, which is the flexibility that we give. So
Mhm.
essentially, with remote, companies are actually able, or even the smaller companies that are looking to expand, they're actually able to tap into talent from across the globe
Mhm.
without having to set up entities and in every single country that they're looking to hire, and also having to sort of continually maintain and manage them. Because I think even from a cost standpoint, it's much more feasible for a company to partner with an organization like remote to
Mhm.
manage this piece, because let's say you're expanding into 5 countries, you then need expert consultants in every country to ensure that you're compliant. So I think in hindsight, when it comes to overall management of or overall maintenance of those entities, it actually turns out to be a more feasible option and a more faster option to partner with companies like remote to look at
Mhm.
international expansion. So we've actually had, and I speak with businesses day in and day out, right? And I get a lot of these requirements where they have a small team in their headquarters location, but they're often facing either with limitations around finding the kind of specialized talent that they're looking for. They're not able to find it in their geographical location. And which is why they've identified someone who's really willing to join their team. They just don't know how. So I feel that it is very applicable to businesses of all sizes and certainly small businesses, because they would definitely want to avoid all the hassle of setting up, managing, maintaining entities, because that's what our platform provides, right? That flexibility is key to these businesses.